In a significant development in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, Ukrainian officials have unveiled a counterproposal to a peace plan put forth by the Trump administration, which has faced backlash for allegedly conceding too much to Moscow. The counterproposal hints at potential concessions while reinforcing some of Kyiv's key demands, indicating a complex landscape ahead for peace negotiations. The details of this proposal, made public by the New York Times, suggest a willingness from Ukraine to explore common ground on certain issues. Notably, it does not impose restrictions on the size of the Ukrainian military, proposes the deployment of a US-backed European security contingent on Ukrainian soil, and advocates for the use of frozen Russian assets to fund reconstruction efforts in war-torn regions of Ukraine. However, it notably refrains from demanding the full restoration of Ukrainian territory or insisting on NATO membership, two long-held positions by President Volodymyr Zelensky that have drawn the ire of the Kremlin. President Trump, who was in Rome for the funeral of Pope Francis, has expressed optimism regarding the peace talks, suggesting that the two nations are very close to a deal. He urged direct negotiations between Ukraine and Russia to finalize an agreement. Zelensky's presence in Rome was contingent on the situation in Ukraine, particularly following recent Russian missile strikes that resulted in numerous casualties in Kyiv. The context of this meeting is crucial. It marks the first interaction between Zelensky and Trump since a contentious Oval Office visit in February, which ended poorly for the Ukrainian president. Reports indicate that the two leaders engaged in a constructive dialogue, although the specifics of their discussions remain largely undisclosed. Zelensky's spokesperson indicated that if he were to meet Trump, he would likely present the latest Ukrainian counterproposal firsthand. Despite the burgeoning peace efforts, skepticism looms large. The Trump administration's proposal has faced criticism for potentially legitimizing Russia's territorial claims in Crimea and elsewhere, a point that Zelensky vehemently opposes. Ukraine will never concede territory, he reiterated, emphasizing that such a concession would violate the nation's constitution and undermine its sovereignty. Moreover, the dynamics of the negotiations reveal a stark contrast between the Trump administration's stance and Ukraine's aspirations. While U.S. officials have indicated they would not impose limitations on Ukraine's military size, contrary to Russian demands, there are concerns that the U.S. may still push for a deal that would effectively recognize Russian control over territories seized since the 2022 invasion. The administration's recent remarks imply that while they may support Ukraine's military capabilities, they are also navigating the complex geopolitical landscape shaped by Russia's expectations. As ceasefire talks continue, the reality on the ground remains grim. Russian military actions persist, with recent attacks in Kyiv resulting in significant civilian casualties. The prospect of a ceasefire appears increasingly elusive, raising questions about the efficacy of any proposed peace agreement. The Kremlin's unwillingness to negotiate on key territorial issues complicates the path toward lasting peace, and many observers fear that without a significant shift in strategy, the conflict may continue to escalate. As the world watches these developments unfold, the implications of the proposed peace plan will extend beyond immediate territorial concerns, potentially reshaping the geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe. Both Ukraine and the U.S. face daunting challenges ahead in reconciling their positions with those of Russia, and the outcome of these negotiations could have far-reaching consequences for international relations and security in the region. In the ever-shifting landscape of American politics, few figures have remained as polarizing and influential as former President Donald Trump. As he gears up for a potential second term, new polling data suggests that some independent voters who previously rallied to his side are now expressing doubts about his candidacy. This shift could have significant implications for the upcoming elections, as independents often play a crucial role in determining the outcome. Recent surveys indicate a marked decline in support among independent voters for Trump. According to the data, approximately 45% of independents who voted for him in the 2020 election are now reconsidering their allegiance. The reasons behind this change are multifaceted. Many independents cite Trump's divisive rhetoric and the ongoing controversies surrounding his presidency as key factors contributing to their disenchantment. One independent voter from Ohio expressed frustration, saying it feels like we're constantly in the middle of a circus. I want a leader who can unify, not divide. Adding to the complexity of this situation is the broader political landscape, which continues to evolve. Trump's recent meetings with foreign leaders, including a notable encounter with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, have drawn mixed reactions. The symbolic nature of this meeting, especially following the tensions from previous diplomatic exchanges, highlights the intricate balancing act Trump must perform to regain the trust of hesitant voters. Zelensky himself commented on the importance of maintaining strong ties, stating, "The partnership between our nations is crucial, and I believe the dialogue is the first step towards rebuilding trust." Meanwhile, the recent funeral of Pope Francis in Rome, attended by a staggering 250,000 mourners, serves as a poignant reminder of the global stage on which leaders operate. The Pope's passing has sparked discussions about the future of the Catholic Church and its role in global politics, echoing themes of unity and compassion that many voters crave in their own leaders. As American voters reflect on their values, the contrast between the late Pope's inclusive approach and Trump's often confrontational style could further sway independent opinions. As the 2024 election cycle heats up, the implications of these shifts in voter sentiment could be profound. Political analysts suggest that if Trump cannot reconnect with independent voters, his path to the Republican nomination and potentially the presidency may be fraught with challenges. The evolving dynamics illustrate a critical moment in American politics where the voices of independents could very well determine the direction of the country. Looking ahead, it remains to be seen how Trump will navigate these complexities. Will he adjust his approach to resonate with a broader audience, or will he double down on his current strategy? As the political landscape continues to shift, both Trump and his challengers will need to engage thoughtfully with the concerns of independent voters if they hope to secure their support in the years to come. In recent years, the phenomenon of tipping has permeated various aspects of consumer transactions, extending far beyond traditional service industries. As consumers navigate this evolving landscape, many are expressing frustration over the ubiquity of tipping requests. This sentiment is particularly evident as individuals grapple with the implications of tipping culture in everyday scenarios, from coffee shops to ride-sharing services. According to a recent article from the Wall Street Journal, the tipping landscape has seen a significant transformation, leading to what some consumers describe as tipping fatigue. This term encapsulates the growing discontent among patrons who feel pressured to tip in situations where it was once uncommon. The rise of digital payment systems has made tipping more visible. For instance, many point-of-sale systems now prompt customers to leave gratuities even for minimal interactions, prompting a re-evaluation of what constitutes appropriate tipping behavior. "People are simply fed up," said one consumer, echoing the sentiments of many who feel inundated by tipping requests. "It feels like everywhere I go there's an expectation to tip even when the service doesn't warrant it." This frustration stems not only from the frequency of tipping prompts but also from the ambiguity surrounding how much to tip in various circumstances. The implications of this tipping trend extend beyond consumer annoyance. They also raise questions about the compensation structures within service-oriented businesses. As tipping becomes more prevalent, it may inadvertently shift the financial responsibility from employers to customers, creating a complex and often inequitable dynamic. Workers in industries heavily reliant on tips may find their earnings fluctuating based not on service quality but rather on customer willingness to tip, which can vary widely across demographics and personal biases. As consumers seek ways to cope with the overwhelming expectation to tip, some are adopting strategies to navigate this new normal. Many are turning to social media platforms to share experiences and tips on how to handle awkward tipping situations. Others advocate for a more transparent approach, suggesting that businesses should provide clearer guidelines on tipping etiquette, allowing customers to make informed decisions without feeling pressured. The increasing complexity of tipping culture presents both challenges and opportunities for businesses. Companies that recognize the shifting landscape may benefit from re-evaluating their compensation models, potentially reducing reliance on tips and instead focusing on fair wages for employees. This could foster a more stable workforce and improve overall service quality, as employees would be less reliant on customer gratuities. Looking ahead, the conversation surrounding tipping is likely to evolve further. As consumers continue to voice their frustrations, businesses may need to adapt to these changing expectations. The future of tipping could see a move towards more inclusive practices that prioritize fair compensation over customer discretion. For now, however, the tipping conversation remains a hot topic, raising important questions about value, service, and the expectations placed on consumers in an increasingly connected world. In a significant shift aimed at bolstering profitability, Spotify is set to raise subscription prices in numerous international markets this summer while holding steady on its pricing in the United States. This move comes amid a backdrop of soaring stock prices for the popular music streaming service, which has seen its shares more than double in the past year. Reports indicate that Spotify will implement a price increase of approximately €1 for individual subscriptions across various European and Latin American countries as early as June. While Spotify has opted not to adjust its pricing in the US, where it last raised subscription fees in July 2024, the decision reflects the company's strategy to enhance revenue streams in other regions. Spotify declined to provide further comments on the matter. The pricing adjustments follow ongoing pressure from music industry executives, who have long advocated for higher subscription rates on platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. Many argue that streaming prices have lagged behind inflation and remain relatively low compared to video streaming services such as Netflix. For instance, despite the recent price hikes, a Spotify subscription in the US currently costs $11.99 per month, only a slight increase from its initial $9.99 price point upon launch in 2011. In recent weeks, Spotify has already initiated subtle price increases in select markets, including the Netherlands and Luxembourg, signaling a more aggressive pricing strategy moving forward. This decision aligns with a broader trend within the music industry, which is grappling with a deceleration in growth. Global revenue growth in the sector halved in the previous year, according to the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry (IFPI). As the music industry seeks new avenues for growth, concepts like Streaming 2.0 have emerged, which aim to introduce more premium subscription tiers. These tiers may offer exclusive benefits such as early access to music releases and concert tickets for a higher price point. Reports suggest that Spotify is considering a super premium subscription tier, potentially costing an additional $6 on top of its current US fee. Lucian Grange, CEO of Universal Music Group, first introduced the term Streaming 2.0 during a recent Capital Markets Day, asserting that this next phase of streaming could significantly enhance the industry's value. However, analysts are cautious about consumer reactions to potential price increases after years of enjoying extensive access to music at relatively low costs. Mark Mulligan, a music industry analyst, expressed skepticism, questioning whether consumers are ready to embrace new and higher-priced offerings, despite the uncertainties surrounding consumer willingness to pay more. The market response to Spotify's evolving strategy remains to be seen. The company is set to report its earnings soon, which may provide further insight into how its pricing strategies are impacting its financial performance and subscriber growth. As Spotify navigates these changes, its approach could serve as a bellwether for the music streaming industry at large, potentially reshaping how consumers engage with music services in the years to come. The evolution of subscription models in response to both market pressures and consumer demand will be critical as Spotify and its competitors strive to maintain relevance and profitability in an increasingly competitive landscape. In a world increasingly defined by geopolitical tensions and humanitarian crises, the Middle East and North Africa continue to capture global attention. Recent events have highlighted the volatile nature of the region. particularly with the tragic explosion at an Iranian port and the ongoing protests in Israel against the war in Gaza illustrating the deep-seated complexities and escalating conflicts that shape the lives of millions. On April 25, 2025, a catastrophic explosion rocked a port in Iran, resulting in the unfortunate loss of at least 5 lives and injuring over 700 individuals. Eyewitness footage captured the moment of the explosion, which sent shockwaves through the area, leaving destruction in its wake. While the cause of the blast remains under investigation, local authorities are grappling with the aftermath, prompting concerns about safety and security within the region's critical infrastructure. Simultaneously, the Israeli public is witnessing an unprecedented wave of protests against the ongoing conflict in Gaza. For the first time in years, citizens are voicing their discontent regarding Palestinian casualties, demonstrating a growing awareness of the humanitarian implications of prolonged warfare. As tensions escalate, the protests have drawn attention to the need for a reassessment of policies that have led to significant loss of life and suffering among civilians. These developments are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger narrative encompassing the intricate relationships between nations and the struggles of individuals caught in the crossfire. The war in Gaza, which has intensified since its outbreak in October 2023, has led to profound humanitarian crises, with reports of civilians being disproportionately affected. A recent wave of Israeli airstrikes has resulted in tragic casualties, including children sheltering in schools, raising alarm among international observers and human rights advocates. Moreover, the geopolitical landscape is shifting as Iran rejects U.S. demands regarding uranium imports, further complicating diplomatic efforts in the region. The Iranian government has reiterated its commitment to its nuclear program, a position that has drawn sharp criticism from Western nations and heightened fears of an arms race in the Middle East. As the situation develops, the implications for regional stability remain uncertain. The growing discontent among Israeli citizens regarding their government's military actions could lead to significant political shifts, while the international community watches closely for signs of escalation or potential resolutions. Analysts suggest that the protests may force policymakers to reconsider their strategies, particularly in addressing the needs of both Israeli and Palestinian communities. Looking ahead, the intertwined fates of nations in the Middle East and North Africa will undoubtedly continue to influence global politics. The events of recent weeks serve as a stark reminder that the path to peace is fraught with challenges, but also that the voices of the people, as evidenced by protests and humanitarian responses, can be a powerful catalyst for change. The coming months may reveal whether these voices will lead to meaningful negotiations or further entrench existing divisions, highlighting the urgent need for dialogue in a region long marked by conflict. In the latest episode of Doctor Who, titled The Well, fans of the long-running series were treated to a chilling homage to the beloved 2008 episode Midnight. While the new installment did not quite capture the same unsettling magic, it delivered enough suspense and thematic depth to engage both loyal viewers and newcomers. This episode, which aired during Season 15, Episode 3, received an impressive 4-star rating from critics, highlighting its merit within a franchise known for its episodic storytelling. The Well thrusts viewers into a harrowing narrative where the Doctor, portrayed by the charismatic 15, embarks on a mission with a young girl named Belinda. The plot thickens as they journey 500,000 years into the future, landing on a desolate planet where they encounter a military platoon tasked with investigating a mining colony from which all communication has mysteriously ceased. The episode cleverly interweaves elements of horror and psychological tension, echoing the themes of fear and misunderstanding that were so effectively portrayed in Midnight. The narrative's tension escalates through the discovery of the colony's gruesome fate. Half of the colonists are dead, many with broken necks or the result of lethal laser fire. As the Doctor and Belinda interact with the lone survivor Alice Funley, who is deaf and communicates through sign language, the episode underscores the importance of accessibility and communication. Alyssa's struggle for survival amidst chaos and paranoia serves as a poignant reminder of how fear can distort human behavior. A reflection of the darker elements explored in both The Well and Midnight. The Doctor's mission quickly turns into a race against time as the squad grapples with the presence of an unseen entity that seems to manipulate their fears. Alice reveals that the entity is responsible for the colony's catastrophe and that killing transfers its influence to another host. This revelation intensifies the stakes as the group must navigate their own paranoia and mistrust while battling the entity's sinister grasp. A particularly striking moment occurs when the entity's whispers draw the Doctor into an emotional confrontation. As he grapples with the haunting presence, the episode poignantly explores themes of sacrifice and the moral complexities of survival. The narrative culminates in a heart-wrenching choice as one character, Shea, decides to confront the entity, illustrating the lengths to which individuals will go in the face of existential threats. The episode concludes with the Doctor and Belinda returning to the TARDIS, their minds racing with the implications of their harrowing experience. As they reflect on the fate of Earth, viewers are left with an unsettling sense of unresolved tension. The final scene, featuring a glimpse of something lurking behind a character, hints at the potential for further developments in this arc, leaving audiences eagerly anticipating what lies ahead. The well serves as a testament to Doctor Who's ability to blend science fiction with profound emotional storytelling. The episode not only pays tribute to its predecessor but also invites reflection on the nature of fear, communication, and human resilience in the face of the unknown. As the series continues to evolve, fans can look forward to more thrilling narratives that challenge perceptions and explore what it means to be human in an ever-expanding universe.